Hi, I'm Trooper Smacka.
Hi, I'm Trooper Wellman,
Please stay tuned for a behind-the-scenes look at being a state trooper.
and together we can make a difference.
Here we are live at the 360 Vegas studios with another edition of Trooper Talk with a special guest, Colonel Ann Carpenter, who's retired, but we appreciate you being here. This has been many months in the making. We've been telling everybody you're coming.
Many months.
And finally you're here.
Real.
Okay. So I want you to know that we appreciate you and
Thank
that
you.
the purpose of Trooper Talk is to get into the mindset of the troopers and to go through different things that they've gone through in their life and in their career so that we can try to get more men and women to enter into that career.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's start off with where you started off, and you've been in many different careers in the DPS. So we try to talk to people so that they know that they don't have to do one thing, that
Right.
they're able to transfer around. So can you talk to us about that?
Okay, so back in 1995, I was offered a job with the Department of Public Safety. Back then it wasn't the Department of Public Safety. I think we were with DMV as well. So they offered me the job with Parole and Probation, which is a sister agency of the Highway Patrol. And so I went to the academy up in Carson City because back then they didn't have an academy in Las Vegas. And I spent, 3 or 4 grueling months up there in the snow, the rain, and sometimes nice weather. And I did that. I graduated from the academy and then moved back down to Las Vegas and began my career as a parole and probation officer. And I was at parole and probation for about 10 years or so. And I was an officer and a sergeant, which is a first line supervisor. And I got married, I had a baby, and there was an opportunity to promote to the Highway Patrol. And back then, that wasn't heard. It was not. That was not the way things happened. And we had a director named George Tagliati, who is the same director that we have now. And I have to say we because I'm still part of the department. I spent half my life there. So, but he wanted the department to be a true department where you could go from one agency, one division to another division seamlessly. And so he started having people transfer and promote within divisions, which was unheard of back then. So my girlfriend said, hey, let's interview for a lieutenant position at the Highway Patrol. And I succumbed to peer pressure and I interviewed, and I didn't know what I was doing. I thought, you know what, I'll just interview and just see what happens. And so I interviewed for the job. And usually back then you would fly to Carson City to interview because the interviews were always in Carson. And I actually had a phone interview in Las Vegas because my daughter was only 8 weeks old. So I just couldn't pull that off.
Yeah.
So, and my husband said, you know what, you're not getting the job. You're not flying up there. You're not face to face. And so after the interview, I finished work, I went home, and I got the job. And so I became a lieutenant at the Highway Patrol. Yeah. And it was very strange because I didn't know what a trooper did. I didn't know what a sergeant did. I certainly didn't know what a lieutenant did at the Highway Patrol. And so that was a huge life-changing moment when I went over there for a variety of reasons. There weren't a lot of women there. There weren't a lot of young women there, and there weren't any outsiders, and I was considered an outsider because I didn't grow up in that culture. So I was a lieutenant for about 6 years and a captain, then I was promoted to captain for about four and a half years, and so I was at the patrol for about 10 years or so, and then I had an opportunity to promote to back at parole and probation as the deputy chief. And I did that. I received the promotion, and I was at parole and probation for, 3 years or so. And then George Tagliati became our director again after many years being gone. And he appointed me as the chief of parole and probation. I was there for a year and a half, and then he asked me, hey, there's an opportunity for you to go back to the Highway Patrol as the colonel or the chief. So I did that. And I spent 13 months there, and after 26 and a half years with the department, it was time to retire.
I mean, it's amazing. And so, coming from the ground floor, right? I mean, starting from there and then achieving such a tremendous thing. And when it comes to a woman, I'm sure that there's a lot harder things sometimes than what the men had to go through. And so the thing is that we look at that as a tremendous accomplishment,
Thank
right?
you. Mm-hmm.
And so this is the picture that we have up there, right?
Sure.
So what I want to know is, on the day that you took that picture, what were you going through in the morning when you knew you were going to be taking like a picture like that?
It's funny that you asked that question. It was a Friday, and I was at parole and probation, and I was chief of parole and probation, and Director Tagliati was going to announce that I would take over being the colonel on that Monday. And there were only a handful of people that knew that. And one of our PIOs called and said, "Hey, I was just told the news. Congratulations, and we need to get a picture of you." And so I said, okay. And so we had to get some people involved to take this photo. And without anyone knowing why I was taking this photo. And so logistically it was difficult, but running through my mind was thinking, oh my gosh, I mean, what am I doing? And is this the right thing? And
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Do you second guess yourself? Like you have such an esteemed career and you've achieved the highest level in that department, right?
Right.
And so to now take that and when you're in parole and probation that you don't want to be in that career for very much longer, right?
I was actually trying to retire.
And so then you take on this huge other responsibility, right?
Right. I guess I wasn't nervous about leading the team because I had already done that and I've proven myself and I know I can do that. The department has really great employees and people that love their job, want to protect our communities, and they're there for the right reason. So that wasn't what scared me. I think it was new again, and it was relearning that language because I had been gone for 4.5, 5 years. So, and I didn't want to disappoint people. I didn't want to let them down. I wanted to be the best version of me so I could help the Highway Patrol go forward and propel it forward. So I guess those are the things that I was thinking about, just hoping that I wouldn't let people down.
So when I had the opportunity to go to Sergeant Smacka when he got promoted, it was all about mentorship. And so it was very, very special because the new troopers that were just coming on all the way up to the major were there. And it was all about mentorship and spreading the love between, all the troopers, and you could feel that.
Sure.
And so that's one of the things that's very special about the Trooper Talk. We know people can feel through the television. And so when they can see, they can really feel.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
And it's important because I've spent my whole career trying to help others be successful in leadership, being successful in being their best versions of themselves, and having those uncomfortable conversations that people don't want to have. And what I have found is that as a leader, when you don't take the time to speak to people about things that may be uncomfortable, you're diminishing them and you're not giving them a chance to develop and grow. So I would try to look at it like that, even if I had to have a difficult conversation with one of my staff, whatever it may be. I always try to think, hey, this will help them in the long run be better, and it'll help the department and division be better if they are better, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. And so when you're on the parole and probation, you obviously see not only the worst in people, but you also have the opportunity to see the best in people.
Absolutely.
And so you see people that have maybe been on the wrong side to come to the right side. And so when we had the opportunity to talk with Lieutenant Munoz when he was here, he talked a lot about a lot of the people that when he was on the parole and probation, that may have been doing bad things at one time, but then because of the leadership, they actually turned their life around to the positive.
Sure.
Can you talk about that?
I'll give you a quick story, and then I'll talk about that. I was profoundly impacted a couple years ago when I was at the Pardons Board. And for those people that don't know what the Pardons Board is, it's the governor, and it's the Supreme Court justices and the Attorney General. And they make up this panel, and they hear cases, people that are in custody at the Nevada Department of Corrections, and people that are out of custody requesting a pardon for their various crimes. And as the chief of parole and probation, it was my job to attend these pardons and give a recommendation if the division thinks that someone should be pardoned or not. And there was this man who was in custody, and his mom was a prostitute, and his dad was her pimp. And so when he told his story, it gives me goosebumps, because when he told his story about how he went from foster care to foster home to here to there, it was clear that there are so many people out there that grow up in a way that's their normal. Their normal is stealing so they can eat at night, right? Or going to bed hungry, or going to sleep somewhere that they don't have a bed. They don't even have a place, any shelter.
One of the things that we talk about on Trooper Talk is the wrong way driving and all this type of stuff, which we'll get into, but it's about shoes, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a shoe on the ground, and that's a person. And so the interesting thing is that for the troopers, the person is already passed. And so I think one of the interesting things that, and again, I don't, only speaking for this, right? The fact that you have the opportunity to save, right? And so in Trooper Talk, we're all about how do we save one life, right? Because if we can save one life, then we can save a second life. And so one of the things that we talk about, but on a, not very much, but on a brief way, are the substance abuse or the suicide hotlines or things of this nature, so people know. And see, now I got the goosebumps, right? To the fact that there are resources out there,
Yes.
Get some help. I heard when I was watching TV the other night that, you can speak to a therapist now just by over the phone. You know what I mean?
Telemed, right.
And tell it, right?
Yep.
And so that's something very special. So go on.
Yes, I think it's so important that we understand where people have come from, because everybody has a story, and everybody's story is important. And I think that it's very easy to become jaded in this line, this profession that we love so much. It's difficult when you see people react the same way, make the same bad choices over and over and over again. And it even took me some time to realize, after going through so much training, that I was the kind of person that I didn't do drugs. I knew that drugs were bad. I didn't do them. I just chose not to. So I didn't understand why everyone else didn't just choose not to do them, right? And then I see now through science that it ruins your frontal lobe, it ruins your brain, and then you make all these bad decisions. And it always goes back to, why did you decide that first time? But once somebody made that poor decision, then their decision making is poor from going forward. So I think education's very important, that people understand, and then the resources are super important. If we don't have those resources for people, then the ultimate goal is saving lives and our community safety. It just goes away if we don't have those resources. People need help, and yes, they make bad choices. We're not perfect. We're human. So I think that we have to balance those of the law, right, doing the right thing, but also helping people and giving them second, third, and 5 chances of it, whatever chances, to help them be as successful as possible.
And so one of the things that we talk about on the Trooper Talk is the fact of, unfortunately, with our troopers, when they're the PIO and they have to go out to these horrific scenes, they have to take that home.
Yes.
And so one of the things that's very difficult, that gets our troopers very emotional, is the fact of that. And it's probably very difficult to separate the personal life from not when you're doing that, and you feel so fortunate for what you have that you can go home and somebody else can't, right?
Right. I think that's important too, because I don't think the general public understands that law enforcement professionals see things that the human psyche shouldn't see on a daily basis, right? And I was speaking to some people a couple weeks ago, and somebody said, and I don't know if this science is correct, but somebody said that in an average lifespan of somebody, they may have 3 to 5 critical incidents in their life, things that harm them, that's traumatic for them, right? And a law enforcement officer may have 800. And so it's important for the community to understand that these officers go out every day and try to do the best that they can and see things that they cannot unsee, and it creates harm. And I don't think people even realize how much harm it creates to our law enforcement family. And so I think that's something that we should really pay attention to. I would also love in our academies throughout the United States if we could talk to people, to the academy recruits, and tell them, hey, this is what you may feel like when you take your weapon out for the first time. This is what it may feel like when you see your first dead body. This is what may feel like if you see when you see your first dead child. And these are real things, and it just gives me the chills again because it's real and we don't talk about it. And I think that's an important aspect that people should know about.
Yeah, and we do talk, and that statistic we do talk about. Trooper Wellman always brings it up. You know what I mean about that, because when we showed the pictures when we did the first original Trooper Talks, we never did pictures. And then we started with the pictures because I wanted people to see like these horrific crashes, and that's how we got to where Trooper Wellman took the pictures, and the first ones were of the shoes, and so that's not a shoe. No, that's somebody's life who's not on the planet, who's not eating anymore. You know what I mean?
Right. Agreed.
And so so you went from the parole and probation, and so you became the head of. Well, at that time, Nevada Highway Patrol.
Yes.
Right? So the first day you're going to work, and you're in your car, and you're driving, and you are now in charge of everybody.
Right.
What's going through your head?
That first day that the announcement came out, there was a flurry of media attention that I was not prepared for.
Do you like that?
It makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I'm not used to being. I understand that I am in a position that people see me and I'm out there, but I'm not comfortable with the spotlight per se.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
And so that was difficult to get used to. The texts, the phone calls, I was trending. Because other places around the country were picking it up because I was the first woman to ever hold this rank. So it was fascinating and it was exciting. I was apprehensive about all of that.
Yeah.
But it was a new challenge, and it was something for me to dig in and meet new people and go back to my other home. I felt like I had 2 homes, right? And so that was exciting. But it was scary too. Very.
Yeah. And so you get to work, and you're dealing with all this stuff, right? And so the first time that you can sit down and you have an office, right? And you're able to sit and just clear your mind. Do you feel like I'm really proud of for what you accomplished to be the first woman to do that? Do you feel do you have I really accomplished this in my life? Do you have one of those moments?
No. Well, first of all, I never took a breath. I think you can ask everybody that I go 100 miles an hour.
Okay.
So I don't think I had that moment of sitting there and thinking, wow. My office is really in Carson, and I was living in Las Vegas, so they had to have a makeshift office for me, I guess.
Okay.
And I didn't have time to have that moment because there was too much to do.
Okay.
So, and I don't know why, but I just don't see myself like that. I just see myself as Anne, who's trying to help the people of the division
Yeah.
with their mission of saving lives, and traffic safety. So I don't think I ever looked at it like that.
Yeah. I mean, and I, again, to be able to lead and command such a vast variety of people, and, everybody has their own life.
Yes.
Right? And so, there needs to be the sense of balance. So, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and so I think that that's very interesting that's who you are. Does that make sense?
Yes. I think because I was the chief, people don't know me, right? They only know what they see or what's projected or the exterior. They don't really get to know me. And I try to have as much fun as I can. And it's probably not appropriate sometimes or not as professional, right? And people only see that professional side usually and not the fun side. So that's difficult. And in the year, 13 months that I was there, I traveled the state a few times to meet as many of my staff as I could have. And I think I went to every single substation that we had.
Let's talk about the pictures that we have here.
Okay.
So this was taken at the Las Vegas sign, right? And so this is the female officers. I mean, great picture, right?
It's a great picture. Yeah, we were missing a few, and that was only the ones that were in Las Vegas, not around the state. So.
And what about this one?
And that was another recruiting effort that Trooper Wellman put together, and so that was really, it was beautiful. It was absolutely stunning the way she had put us with the background, and we had the same females there, but it was really great.
And so you can have a tremendous career, man or woman, right?
sure.
I mean, and that's what's important as well, that you can rise from just coming in all the way to the very top, right?
Sure, and it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. I think together we're a good team, right? You can't have all men or all women, and you need to have a blend of both. But I just hope that those little girls that are in kindergarten right now, that are studying, doing whatever, they understand that they have options. They have a ton of options, and they can do whatever they want to do, no matter what it is.
Well, we got some great photos. You ready?
Oh gosh,
All right, don't get nervous.
it makes me nervous. Oh,
Okay, so we talked about this picture here, right? So when you come to work, do you drive the highway patrol car?
Yes, I did. I had some logistical issues because I used to have to take my daughter to school and pick her up, and so I couldn't do that. But
Yeah,
once she either had time off or she got her license, then yes.
All right, let's go to this one.
Oh gosh. Okay.
All right, what is this beautiful thing? What is this? Explain this.
Well, I mean, I guess what it is, it's a visual representation of my career from the day that I started and the ranks that I held. So at the bottom, those are each badge that represents the rank that I held, and then the insignia is above it, and then above that are all the identification cards that I had, and the one on the very right doesn't look the same because it was so old. That's what was given to me. And if you look at if you actually saw the picture, I just look so young.
And so, when you look at this, are you proud of yourself?
Yes, I'm proud of myself, but I feel like that's just part of my story, right? And my journey isn't over. It's just the beginning of a new chapter. So, yes, I almost don't think that's me.
Yeah. And so the important thing that, like you said, that for the young children that are watching this, right, that you can have a tremendous career.
Yes.
And now part of the Department of Public Safety, right? But to transferring of the different things and all that type of stuff. But I mean, what a tremendous accomplishment!
Yes.
And so this is something that we want to say thank you, but we also want everyone to see this so that they can look and go, this is something that I can accomplish in life. And like you said, this is not the end. This is only the end of this particular chapter, right? So of this, right?
Yeah, and I want to be clear because Some people look at my career like it was just the easiest thing ever, in the sense of, well, you made it to the top. People don't see the struggles that went along the way of all those little things that I went through, and the people that I butted heads with, and the tears and the blood and the sweat and everything that went through it to get there, right? People just think that, oh, you made it, so it must have been easy. And it wasn't for me. I did not fit in. I didn't look the part. I was a salmon swimming upstream, I swear to God, every single day, right?
Right.
And I guess I tried to make myself comfortable with being uncomfortable, because I was uncomfortable all the time. Every single day that I went to work, I was uncomfortable, which is not the greatest feeling, right? But then you don't become complacent either. So I just want people to understand that it takes hard work, and it's not, the path wasn't just straight. There was a lot of detours and a lot of meandering and a lot of different things that I had to do to get here.
But that makes a good leader, right? Because you understand the different things, and so that makes a good commander, because people look up to that.
Well,
right?
I guess they would if they knew, right? Because the young people that I supervise, they didn't know me, and they don't know my story,
Okay,
right?
okay.
And so they just look at someone who's up here telling them what to do, and they don't realize that I've been there. I've had those fights, I've thought those things, I've been angry, I've fought with my boss, I've made tons of mistakes. That's how I learned, right? I failed forward. So I think for me, being a leader, I look at people and I know they're human and they're going to make mistakes, and they should make mistakes. We're not robots, but they just shouldn't make the same mistake over and over again, and they shouldn't be malicious mistakes, right?
Right, 100%.
And so that's, I think, one of the unique characteristics that I bring to the table, or that I brought to the table, is that when people made mistakes, I didn't get mad. I guess for me, if it were malicious, that would anger me. But people make mistakes all the time just because they're just trying to do the best that they can. You know, I didn't go out and look for problems necessarily. The problems usually just came to my desk.
Yeah. And when you were with the Nevada Highway Patrol, is there something that like made you more angry than not, like, you know, the wrong way driving, or the seatbelt thing, or was there something that, you know, really like upset you more than anything?
I think what upsets me is the way we look at traffic fatalities. So when I would go to these high-level meetings with other chiefs of police and sheriffs, their main focus usually is violent crime. And who can say that that's a problem, right? I mean, violent crime's a problem and we have to look at it. But what they're failing to recognize sometimes, we as a community fail to recognize sometimes, is that when somebody gets hit by a car, that's pretty violent, right? And so I started calling them traffic murders, because that's what they are. They're traffic murders. I didn't know that I was going to get in my car today and die because somebody hit me and killed me, right? And so I wanted to bring recognition to traffic, because in law enforcement community, sometimes traffic is a lesser version, a lesser important thing than violent crime. But traffic murders are violent as well. So it's time for the community to understand that's inappropriate, unacceptable, and we need to do something about it.
Yeah, and you know, the last week on the Trooper Talk, you know, we talked all about the speeds, and we had these pictures of, you know, these people doing, you know, 122, and I think there was, I forget the number, but it was, you know, 5,100 people last year got caught over 100 miles an hour, you know, and so, you know, these type of things have to stop. And so traffic murder is really a great term. We don't ever use that, but it really is, because, you know, some of these people just have no caring for anything, and they're out there like that.
Well, I don't think the general public really pays attention or understands how much damage a vehicle can do, right? And my daughter just turned 16 and got her license in September. And so she's heard nothing but, I just am always harping on her about traffic safety, to where she just is ad nauseum, right? She doesn't want to hear it anymore. But I told her that people don't understand that people think that, going from A to B, they're just driving A to B, not a big deal. But it is a big deal. There's crashes all the time that could be prevented if people weren't impaired, if they weren't, texting and driving, if they're just paying attention, they weren't putting their makeup on, whatever the case, right? It's super important that you could ruin someone's day, or you could kill somebody by these things that we're not even paying attention, that we don't even think it's important.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to get that message out, but maybe this is a platform where we can talk about it.
And I will tell you that, my wife and I are married 21 years. We don't have kids, but I can only imagine with what you know and what you've seen, that you're now saying, here's my child, and yeah, that's, you know what I mean? Like, it's got to be very difficult.
It's difficult. And I told her, I said, even if a crash happens and it's not your fault, you could still end up injured, right? So you have to be careful, you have to pay attention, and we talk about this every single day.
Yeah, no, it's really, really important. And it's great that you're bringing it up, because it provides a different topic of conversation that we're going to open up, you know what I mean?
Right.
All right, let's see what else we got. Okay, so this is something that's, very important. We want no one to go through any type of cancer, and especially the breast cancer.
Right.
And so these are, again, the officers that, you stand with. Talk to us about this picture and, a little bit about this moment.
So this moment, it was really great because it was more intimate. There was only a few of us, so that was great, where I could interact with people on a personal level. Exactly. I was very worried because I had just gotten my nails done, so thank goodness they look that they look better. That would have been really bad.
And they were up like
yeah,
this.
I said, oh no, good thing I had them done. So that's good. But no, it's breast cancer awareness is important, and cancer awareness is important too. My stepfather, who raised me, passed away from pancreatic cancer 11 years ago, and so any type of cancer, and my father-in-law passed away this past August from cancer. So cancer is not good, obviously, and so I think this is just a tribute to what we can do at the Highway Patrol.
Yeah.
To show our support.
I think the nail thing is great, because here's what I'm going to tell you. Nobody would ever know that. You know what I mean? So all the trooper talk is, next time they see you, you're going to go, oh, I saw you. Yeah, you got your nails done that day. Yeah, they look great. You know what I mean?
Good thing. And they weren't out of policy, so that's good too.
Right, that's great. All right, let's see what we got here. So we talked about this, and we with Trooper Wellman, we had the picture. Normally we have it over here. You know what I mean? But the importance of this is that the female troopers, and it wasn't just all of them, it was that you were there with them.
Yes.
And so I know on a personal level, because we talk with Trooper Wellman when she comes in and stuff like this, how important this photo was.
I think being a woman in uniform is difficult in a lot of different ways, not just from the emotional aspect and the mental aspect, but the physical aspect as well. When I first came to the patrol, they didn't really have female pants and female the uniform, right?
I'm looking over because
yeah, and so my first uniform top, it was too big, and my tie hung incorrectly, and I looked horrible. And so that was the first experience that I had, and even my shoes were men's shoes. And so I had to get heel inserts to put in them so I could walk and my heels wouldn't come out of them because they were too wide. So I think being in charge gives me the flexibility to say, hey, that's unacceptable. And women are cut, we're made differently, we look different, and we have to have our own set of clothing. I even told my old chief when I was there as a captain, I said, I'll tell you what, I said, I'll wear a man's uniform if you wear nylons and heels all day, right? Because that's what it's like.
Right.
And so, they would laugh and joke, but it's not funny. We need to have our own things. And when you're in that uniform, you need to be self-contained. Everything that you need needs to be on you. And so that becomes difficult because women need a lot more things than men do.
And we talk about it because, you know, when the trooper leaves, you know, they have to have everything in their car to be self-sufficient. And it's the
Right.
same type of idea. When you're wearing that uniform, you know, you're in that for, you know, 8 hours or however many hours it is, and you're, you know, running around, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
It's very hectic, you
It's
know
very
what I'm saying?
hectic. That's powerful. That was probably the worst day. One of the worst days. To have to say goodbye and to have to look into somebody's eyes who has to say goodbye forever. It's tough. What I find interesting though is that when I first got the call, I cried, and I'm very emotional and sensitive, but after that I didn't cry again for weeks. And I think that I just shut down because for the first time I was facing something that I had never faced before in such a magnitude, right? Of I have a family that's grieving in ways that I will never know. I have my department family who's grieving in ways that I'll never know. And I'm at the head of this organization, and I have to pull it together, and I have to be there for them. I need to make sure that they're being taken care of. And I have to deliver myself in the sense of, we're going to get through this. It's going to be okay. Just one breath at a time, right? So seeing that brings all that back.
And so, as you see that flag and you know what that flag represents,
Right.
is there a moment that you just you don't know what to say? Like, what goes through your mind?
Well, at that specific moment, I had memorized what I needed to say because there are specific things that you need to say. So I think at that moment, I just wanted to make sure that I did everything correctly and beautifully for Joanna. I wanted to make sure that she was taken care of. So I was more worried about her and making sure that I delivered this to her in the best manner possible, if that makes sense.
No,
respect. I guess it's
no,
the
no,
respect.
right? Of course,
Yeah.
and so that's something that's very special. You know what I mean? And so that's something that we would want to think in our mind, right? That we would want to do that. And
Right.
so we appreciate what you had to go through in order to do that. You know, the fact of to be able to stand there and be able to look somebody in the eye and give them a flag to represent finality.
Sure, that's a great way to put it.
In that way, maybe, you know.
Right.
It takes a very strong person. You know what I mean? Like, and so, you know, to command, to lead is to not break down. Like,
Right.
you know, maybe
Right.
like you said, you know, the broke down in you know, when it first happened, but then
Right.
during this whole process, you're not able to.
No. And because I was the first woman at the helm of this organization, I didn't want to come across like that. And I know that that may sound
yeah,
sexist,
okay.
but I wanted people to know that I got their back. I got this. They don't have to worry about me breaking down. I need to worry about them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So do you like psychologically, like, you know, when you're by yourself, then you like have to look at yourself and, like, you know, the rear view mirror of the car, and you have to be like, okay, like, I really got to just be strong, right? Like, do you say that in your mind? Like, I just got to keep being strong. I just got to keep being strong until the final point of where you can't do that, and then maybe that, you know, you break down many weeks later or something?
Before this occurred, I would have thought that's exactly how it would be. And then once this occurred, I just naturally shut down in the sense of getting through it. There was no time to think about being strong. We just had to be strong. it just happened because there was too many things going on, too many moving parts and pieces going on, and I just did it. I still to this day don't understand how I did that because that's not my personality, but I just had to rise to the occasion.
Yeah, sure. And so that's what I found to be, most apropos during this time is that, there were so many people and so many people wanted to talk because they just wanted to help or they just wanted to do that. It was very difficult, and so the emotional support and stuff like that was something that we wanted to go do, and we unfortunately had the trooper talk during this time, and it was one of the things where Trooper Wellman and Trooper Smacka, it was very emotional. That we had to talk about, and they had to be at. You know what I mean? And so this is one of the things that you'll never get over.
No, never.
1 year ago today, we tragically lost one of our own, Sergeant Ben Jenkins. Now, I'd like to talk to you about a few things here.
Okay.
You said that you traveled, all around, right? And so one of the things that Sergeant Ben Jenkins was just helping. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like in a different, not that it's worse or better, but in a different situation than the Trooper Micah May.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And so you traveled this road?
Yes, several times.
And so when you're in the car by yourself, because I asked Trooper Wellman this, I asked Sergeant Smackett, when they're like, so when you're driving this road by yourself and you know that someone lost their life that is your brother, what are you going through?
I mean, when we drove there, I couldn't believe how much was out there in the sense of support. The flags, the flowers, the crosses. There was so much memorabilia out there. And it's in the middle of nowhere. So people traveled distances, right, to pay their respects and put all this out there. So that was one of the first things. And the second thing is that I couldn't help but feel like a part of him still out there, right? It was just an interesting feeling that I felt. And you could actually see where the vehicle was, and you can see little parts in the dirt, and it's
very eerie.
It's very eerie, but it was also peaceful and comforting, knowing that there was so much support for he and his family out there.
Okay.
Because he's not going to be forgotten ever, never.
Yeah, I guess that's okay. Because some of us will never get a chance to go there.
Right.
Right, but when it came to the support of the Sergeant Ben Jenkins, we had the IPOF had the patches and we had the coins and all that stuff, and it was tremendous support.
Tremendous support.
And so, that it's one of the things that we find very special because some of us will never get a chance to go out there.
Right. It is very eerie. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. And that's the way it looked when Johnny showed me this picture. It looked like something of that you knew when you were there, and you knew that there maybe was some peace there.
Yes.
But that it still should never have happened.
No, should never have happened.
How about this one? While driving outside Tonopah today, I encountered a memorial at the scene of a recent fatal crash. Another heartbreaking tragedy with people that impacts all of us.
Right. So if I remember correctly, a husband, wife, mom and dad, they passed away together. And so their kids and family members put this out there, and it was just unbelievable. And so when we would travel as a team, and when we would travel out there, I'd have them stop at wherever we saw a cross, and we would pay respects and write on the cross that the High Patrol was with them. It's very powerful.
And so when you're with other people, and so you're going through these type of things, what do you feel? Like, you just feel like...
I feel a lot of things. I feel extreme sadness because you have these children who are saying, we miss you, Mom and Dad. I mean, it's so heartbreaking that two people are gone just like that. And the ripple effects keep going, right? With the family, friends, neighbors, coworkers. I'm angry. I'm angry that there's not more that we can do as a community and as a society to stop fatalities. And then it reinvigorates me as well. That it gives you that opportunity of, okay, here's 2 more lives lost, but how can we pay this forward, and how can we make it so they didn't die in vain? How can we educate people that it's real and the impacts are real, the ripple effects are real? So.
Yeah. And so that's one of the things that we have to stop. You know what I mean? We have to stop things like this. Right, 100%. What do we have over here? Of a young and vibrant life, a wife and mother whose sudden passing.
So our trooper lost his wife.
Oh.
Yes.
I remember this.
So that's another tragedy.
You had to deal with a lot of tragedies when you know.
In 13 months.
In 13 months. How do you hold it together? Like, do you go home and you're like, do you sit down on the sofa and you're just like, you just breathe?
Sometimes I read a lot.
Yeah.
I go to the gym and I try to figure out ways to decompress that are healthy, because a lot of people turn to substances, right,
Sure.
to numb themselves. But I feel like for me, I know that sounds silly, but just looking at nature or the hummingbirds outside, or just realizing that there's so much vibrancy to the world, right, and to look at it from a different lens, and it brings me back to, okay, there's more work to do, and I need to push forward. You just keep pushing forward.
And is that one of the ways that you're able to see these type of things and continue on to just, go outside and just, see a bird or something like that?
Right. And I just sit there and think, the world's going to keep turning, right, every day. The sun's going to keep coming up every single day. And so how do we make it safer for people?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I push forward.
Yeah. And so we look towards different types of inspiration because, a lot of people, they don't know what to do. You know what I mean? And
right.
so
and everybody grieves differently too.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Let's see what we've got on this one. Look at this.
That was a great memory too.
Of course, Trooper Wellman's right in the front there. You know what I mean? She's smiling over there. You know what I'm saying? All right. All right. So what do we got going on here? It looks like a whole bunch of people smiling.
Yes, we were smiling. It's a rare moment that week. We were in Washington, D.C. for Police Week.
Yes.
And we were there honoring Sergeant Ben Jenkins.
Yes.
And I think this was one of the times where everybody was sort of decompressing because it had been difficult.
And so, okay, so now everybody here is totally like off the clock in that way, like, right?
Yes.
Like, see, you got me choked up, right? So everybody's off the clock, everybody's just hanging out, right? So in this type of bonding time, because that's what makes this special, you know what I'm, right? Everybody's laughing and joking, and tell us what you're feeling. Like how proud you are of everybody that's here,
I do.
like, of the unity, like, I don't know, like, I manage. And so I think one of the hardest things about managing that people don't understand is that every single person has a different personality.
Yes.
And so to be able to have this many people in one area, and you can see the genuineness. And so that's, again, I come back to that people can feel through the television, and so people can feel through a picture. And so this is complete appreciation of everyone being together.
Yes, I mean, there's people from from different agencies and their spouses, and I think everybody was just having a good time, and Sergeant Ben Jenkins' family is in this photo, and so we were supporting them too. So I think this just illustrates how we're a huge family, and even though we may be dysfunctional at times, this shows. I mean, if you look at their smiles, everyone smiles. You can see it in their eyes. Everybody's happy.
Yeah, and that's what I think is very special. You know, we had we've done we did the Trooper Talk with all the photos and stuff like that, and it was really wonderful because we had all the photos of the different agencies that were all together, of like not only the honor guard but you know many different things, and it was really just wonderful because you could actually see that everyone wanted to be there and everyone was there in support of everyone else, and you know that it was a very difficult time, but you could see that everyone supported everybody, and that was great.
Very much supported. Oh my goodness.
So,
I wonder where they got this gem.
Chelsea Stunkel is the president of the IPOF.
Yes.
And I happen to know her on a personal level as well. And she works tirelessly doing so many
she does.
things. And, you know,
And a
her
mom.
husband, you know what I mean? And so, you know, tell us about this photo. Tell us what's going on.
You know, Chelsea is a hard worker, and she's a mom, and she's a wife, and she's the president of IPOF, and she's part of our department. I honestly, it's difficult to manage all of that.
Yeah.
And she does a great job. She's articulate. She's fun. She has a great personality. So she's got what it takes.
And so when you're giving a promotion to someone, and again, we had the opportunity of seeing that firsthand. And it wasn't like, oh, okay, you know, thank you very much, here's your promotion, okay, you know, get out, goodbye.
Right.
No, it was, you know, the spouse was there, right? And they gave flowers to make sure that this was the hardest year that they're going to go through.
Right.
You know, the major was there, the captains were there, and they were saying, listen, we're here for you. You know, when you need something, we're here to mentor you. We're here to help you.
Right.
You know, when I saw Sergeant Whitmarsh at the IPOF meeting, and we were talking, you know, about everything that he's doing, about how he helps train, right? You know, Sergeant Smacka. You know, and like everybody's sticking together, and it's just wonderful. So, you know, I think it's wonderful in light to show you giving away a promotion, because most of the time you were getting the promotion.
Yeah, it looks like that. But no, succession planning is important because we're not infinite, right? At some point, we're going to not be there anymore, and so it's very important that we find people that are willing to step up into these leadership roles, that are willing to listen and have the skill set and willing to take the division and the department forward.
Right, 100%. How about this one? All right. It looks like you have a whole bunch of fans there. Were they all there for you?
No, they were
okay.
not. They were not.
Okay.
No. They have a suite, and they will sometimes give the opportunity to law enforcement or first responders an opportunity to use that suite to say thank you. And so they reached out and asked if we would be interested in doing that, and we said absolutely. So we decided the easiest, best course of action would to maybe get those people that were involved with the Micah May incident, and it would be a nice way to decompress, have some fun, and be off the clock, and just say thank you for what happened. And so, unbeknownst to me, the president and vice president gave me this beautiful jersey, 27 for the 27 years that I had with state service, and then I got to do the air horn.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It was fabulous. I was very nervous because I don't like being in the spotlight, but it was an incredible moment.
Do you look at the jersey every once in a while now, or is
yes. My daughter likes to wear it, but yes, it's beautiful.
Okay.
Absolutely beautiful.
Again, not in the spotlight though.
No.
I appreciate you coming. You know, I will tell you that it means the world to me, and so, you know, part of the thing that we have to do with Trooper Talk is we have to save lives, and we have to get more people involved. You know, hopefully with more pay.
Yes, hopefully with more
You know
pay
what
and
I'm saying?
benefits, right?
I don't know, but you know, he said that You know, we brought it up the last time that the governor said that he was going to try to give more pay. You know, and so, you know, we have no control over that. We hope that he does, you know, because everybody's worth it. But, you know, we appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you for the
Any
invite.
final thoughts?
I
Did
just
you
want-
have fun today?
I had a lot of fun today.
Okay. It wasn't that bad,
No,
right?
it wasn't that bad.
All right.
You made it very easy.
All right,
So
good.
thank you.
We appreciate you coming on. We'll smile at that camera right there.
Okay.
And then as soon as we're done, you're off the hook.
Okay. Thank you for the invitation too. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming on. We'll talk to you very soon. All right. Thank you.
Bye.